Come in, sir.
Aye.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon to all of you, sirs.
Good afternoon. Take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
So, you are Suchiter Sharma.
Yes, sir.
Suchiter, English is going to be your preferred medium for interview?
Yes, sir.
Fine, Suchiter. You must have noticed that we are taking adequate care when it comes to COVID.
Yes,
and
sir.
that's why we have taken several steps. One of the steps is that we have kept your chair at adequate distance,
Yes.
so that you feel safe and others also feel safe, right? Another advantage of this arrangement is that since you're at a safe distance from anybody in this room, therefore you can choose to remove your mask if you feel like. Would you like to remove that?
Yes, sir.
Please do, because otherwise there is also that fogging issue with the mask when
Yes,
the
sir.
glasses are there, right? So, right, comfortable?
Yes, sir.
You're not having any symptoms yourself?
No, sir.
Good. So let us start then. I want you to introduce yourself to board members.
So, as you mentioned, my name is Suchiter Sharma. I hail from border village Slad of Jammu district of J&K UT. I have did my graduation from Government Gandhi Memorial Science College, Jammu. My interests include watching web series and listening and reciting karaks. I basically belong to a family of farmers.
Okay. You're basically from Jammu.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I can see that you were born in 1999.
Yes, sir.
So that makes you a young candidate, very young candidate.
Yes.
Aren't you too young to get into civil service? I mean, it's true that you're eligible. But do you believe that you're mature enough to handle the pressures that are expected here?
Yes, sir. I feel that I am eligible enough to handle those pressure. I have been brought up in those tough conditions of the rural background, and I have learned many things there. So I think, sir, I am eligible for that. I am ready to face the pressure that is being faced by the civil servant.
Give me a few instances which shows that you do have that kind of maturity.
So from the very beginning, as I mentioned, my house is distantly located from my school also. I hail from border village. So distance from my school to my from my house to my school was around 30 kilometers. I used to travel regularly from class 4th till class 12th. And after that, when I moved to my graduation, my college was more distantly located. So it was around 35 kilometers from my house. So I used to, for first 2 years of my college, I used to go by bus. So I have that condition, I have faced that situation, that how to handle pressure. And side by side, I was preparing for civil services. I was managing my college work. So, and simultaneously in my first attempt, just after my graduation is over, I cleared civil services. So I think I have felt that pressure and I'm ready to face the pressure that is actually being felt by the civil servant.
Okay. So Chitar, you're coming from Jammu.
Yes, sir.
Jammu, after that decision, has become a UT.
Yes, sir.
Like Kashmir and Ladakh is.
Yes, sir.
If I ask you to compare the UT of Jammu in comparison to Delhi, which is state UT or UT, can you point out to what exactly are the point of differences?
So more or less, both are union territories. Some major difference that lies that in case of Jammu and Kashmir, except land, all other subjects will be controlled by central government. And in case of New Delhi, all the subjects are controlled by central government. So we have autonomy in case of land. Decision related to land can be taken by state legislature, whereas in case of Delhi, it cannot be taken by state legislature.
Jammu has a state legislature?
So yes, it has state legislature, but till now it has no elections have been taken place. Delimitation Commission is working. So in few months, or we can say after 6 months, we can see state legislature. Thereafter, the delimitation work will be over.
What exactly is the rationale of having UTs nowadays? Union territories. The very idea of territories is so colonial, isn't it? We have a union territory of, say, Andaman Nicobar, a place which is thousands of kilometers away, being administered by Delhi. It looks more like colonialism. What is your take?
Although, sir, the setup was during the colonial times, but as I feel that earlier, as we know, that Jammu and Kashmir it was a erstwhile state. Now it has been broken down into union territory. So the reason was that the past setup that was created by the center was not working well. The state that development that it would have achieved over the period of time, it was not achieved by Jammu and Kashmir. So all those steps necessitated central government to convert Jammu and Kashmir, including Ladakh, into union territory.
You've taken zoology as your optional paper.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, that's been on for many, many years, how has it affected the fauna and flora of the state?
So disruptions have led to militancy in the valley has led to various attacks by the militants, and those attacks have actually disrupted the fauna and flora. Kashmir has a fragile flora as well as fragile fauna. So even anything that occurs as violent, it is going to affect that area. So,
but that seems too general a statement. Tell me specifically, how has it affected? I mean, if it is terrorism, for example, militancy, it should be good for a forest. People will not venture into forest because of they are afraid of militancy. That will be good for environment. I mean, I'm not saying that we should have terrorism everywhere. What I'm suggesting is, why are you saying that it is affected negatively? It may be a positive impact.
Sir, a forest is often used by Naxals as hiding places, and maybe it is used by militants for crossing, and it is used for infiltration purpose.
But how will it affect the environment negatively? I mean, I'm not at all suggesting that it's a good idea, but tell me, as a zoology student, that why do you believe that such militancy or violence is bad for environment?
Sir, according to my knowledge, till now, whatever I have gathered, sir, I feel that when bomb attacks or IED blasts are occurring, they're definitely going to disrupt the environment. Sir, I don't know anything beyond that. Sorry for that.
Okay, thank you.
So, botany, zoology, zoology, right?
Yes, sir.
These are your background.
Yes, sir.
First, specific to what, we have calcareous marine microorganism, right? And the calcareous one, we call it what, Globosarina, right? And pteropod. And we have siliceous oozes or microorganism. We call it what, diatom, and we call it radiolarian, right? My question is what? How calcareous and siliceous oozes or microorganism, marine in origin, important to maintain ecology or a particular biota of marine life? How?
So they are a part of cycle, the cycle that go on and sustain whole atmosphere.
Where they are in cycle, where they are in food chain, where they are.
So they are just at the bottom, or we can say just from the beginning.
Yes,
they are just at the beginning.
You consider they are keystone an organism of ocean.
Yes, sir.
In their specific biota.
Yes, sir. They are keystone species because they are sustaining whole oceanic atmosphere.
Look, diatom in particular is adversely affected by climatic change. So why and how?
So sorry, sir. I don't know. I need to look into it.
Diatom is what around actually North Pole, South Pole. So this is a cold, and you see the what sea level is changing. That's why I asked the question. Okay, my next very important question that is related to what your Jammu and Kashmir zoology, botany. Look, we have line of control.
Yes, sir.
Right, largely in Jammu and Kashmir, partially in what Ladakh Union Territory, and we have line of actual control that is totally in what Union Territory of Ladakh. My question is what? Both having certain flora and fauna, but you will see the flora and fauna, in spite of all change, is constant along line of actual control. But along line of actual line of control, LOC, look, biodiversity is actually adversely affected by climatic change. Means they are changing themselves, but along line of control, they are still constant. What is the reason behind this?
Sir, although we know that these LOC and LAC are very disturbed areas and they are the hotlines, but if we see that they are not as much as fragile and not that much of human intervention is seen in those areas, although firing and cross firing occurs, but they occur from
look, LAC is totally cold desert.
Yes, sir.
Right. So when this is desert, what happens next? flora fauna is totally absent, negligible. But along line of control, we have very rich biodiversity.
Okay.
And that's why if there is be change, there would be change on this particular point. Okay, my next question. You see, we have Marg in Jammu and Kashmir. You're a student of zoology, you have to read ecology as a part. Look, Marg is determined by timberline as well as snow line. So, Marg is determined by timberline and snow line.
But I'm not able to get
What is timberline?
So the line which contains forest, or we can say from where the forests are going to begin.
Not forest. There is no need forest. There may be tree. All tree or woodland area is not forest.
Yes.
You know the definition of forest?
Where large number of trees are found.
How many percentage?
They are classified into very dense forest, dense
That
forest.
is different thing. That is different thing. My last question to you. Look, in between two biota, there is a biotone, right? And biotone in Jammu and Kashmir somewhere shrinking, somewhere expanding. Why? Biotone, you could understand?
The transition zone.
Yes.
between-
So somewhere you see in between two biota, and somewhere but biotone is shrinking, somewhere biotone is actually expanding. Why?
The case where it is shrinking, it might be due to the human intervention. We have seen that tourism is growing in our state, and penetration of the roads, railways have actually led to the shrinking of the biota, and disturbance has been caused. And
What are the biomass in Jammu region is very important to your parents as a farmers?
so it's actually wheat straw.
Yes, most important.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
So as a biomass.
Yes, biomass. What is biomass?
So cow dung.
Yes.
Cow dung is important.
Yes.
Let me recall some of
I have
them.
not asked you from what pet animal. I have asked you from forest. What are the biomass of forest used by your parents? Very useful. One you have told that is what a very common practice, that is fodder, gathering of fodder. Yes. Anything else in your knowledge?
So I'm not able to recall at this time.
In your home, this is a use every day. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Suchiter,
Yes, sir.
you want to become administrator in India. What are your ambitions? Would you like to contribute in policy making in the government or policy implementation?
So as yet I have not decided anything, but my ambitions are like that. Wherever I will get, I have to set standards so high that people will feel that they have to touch those standards, and that standard will be beyond everything. So I want to perform best in everything.
Beyond everything means which things?
Means I want to use best of my potentials in servicing, in service of the people, in service of the nation, and in service of the whom I am required.
So let's say you are posted in Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for formulation of fiscal policy
Yes, sir.
and its implementation. So at this juncture in Indian economy, what kind of fiscal policy you would formulate with the help of your associates, and how will you implement it?
Sir, at this moment, I feel that the country is facing kind of complex situation where we want more investments, and at the same time inflation is also so high. So my first focus will be to control inflation. At the same time, in order to increase the investments, we need to have investments. We have to make our MSME sector robust. So I can go for giving more incentives or credit based interest subventions to those MSMEs. I can help in the revival of the horticulture sector. My focus area, my more focal areas will be the revival of the tourism, revival of the healthcare sector. I can also go for dairy farming and inculcating and just going for the cooperatives is also.
Which measures you will take to contain inflation?
Sir, inflation is commonly due to food. Mostly it is seasonal, and food inflation is the major issue. So, sir, in order to encounter the food inflation, my
Nowadays we have fuel inflation very high.
Yes, sir. So, sir,
How to reduce that inflation?
sir, for reducing the fuel inflation, we need to diversify our fuel basket. Mostly we are importing from OPEC countries, also from USA. Our policy of mixing
What is an OPEC? What is OPEC?
Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries.
That's correct. So what kind of organization it is? It is considered sometimes as cartel.
Yes, sir.
What do you understand by cartel?
So it means they work collectively for their own gains. Sometimes, like this time, Saudi Arabia and all those countries who are in this cartel are trying to cut the production so that fuel prices are increased, and we have seen increase in fuel prices. So I think at this time they are
It is
functioning.
alleged that in India also many businessmen have formed cartels and they are resorting to kind of manipulation of prices in the market through hoarding and speculation processes. How do you deal with these kind of businessmen?
Sir, I think private players should not be hated, and they are a part of our economy. But if they indulge in such practices which are not good for the economy, I think some action must be taken against them that is legal and that is being backed by the statutory provisions.
Recently, large number of people have misled and forged documents to take fund from many institutions like banks, etc. And they have been followed also. But for last several years, in spite of consistent efforts, they have not been properly booked and been treated promptly in the eyes of law. So the legal machinery, the entire process of legal action is losing credibility in the eyes of general public. What measures should you take to restore the legal machinery against these offenders?
Sorry, e-governance, or we can say the digital linking of the banks is can be done, or we can say whatever we have the finance machinery, we can have that in digital place also. And properly, I think that if one sector is working good, the policymakers are good and implementers are not good, it is actually also going to create a problem. So I think that for implementation purpose, we also need to have
if
a
you come
robust
to know that some politicians are working in nexus with some bank officials and some businessmen, and they are systematically diverting fund, siphoning off, what action you will take against the politicians and bureaucrats?
So if I will be like in that situation, whatever the law will permit me, I will do that.
Like which kind of permissions are available under law?
Sir, I am not aware of that.
Okay. My final question is that RBI is nowadays pursuing an easy money policy.
Yes.
What do you understand by this easy money?
So easy money policy means that the rates of borrowing have been brought down, and also for those who are just submitting their money to the banks, or like
How easy money is different from cheap money?
Sir, I have no idea.
How do you distinguish between easy money policy and expansionary money policy?
So I will not be able to draw line
Okay,
on this.
finally, can you define a policy? What is called a policy?
Sorry, sir.
Okay, Suchiter.
Suchiter,
Yes, sir.
what is the meaning of your name?
Sir, it means good picture or an attractive picture.
Okay. Is it Suchitra or Suchitar?
So Suchitra.
Okay, okay. You have studied geology in your graduation.
Yes, sir.
How magnetic field of Earth is produced?
So magnetic field of the earth is produced due to the elements which are present in the core.
In the core?
In the core. Core is actually of two types, outer core and inner core. So the outer core, we can say it is more fluid in nature, and the elements that are present in the outer core are regulating the magnetic field of the earth.
Okay. A solar storm is heading towards the Earth. Have you come across this news?
Yes, sir, I've heard about this.
How it will impact the Earth?
Sir, there is actually interaction between the magnetic force of the earth and solar storm, and both of them collide actually. And if the solar storm will be so high that it will be able to penetrate the magnetic field of the earth, it will affect the radioactive signals, it can affect the satellite systems, and also the mobile telephony system.
Okay. What is the significance of asthenosphere in the Earth?
So asthenosphere is actually semi-molten, or we can say like a duff, like a kneaded duff. So the plates are actually moving upon the asthenosphere, and it has provided somewhat fluidity to the earth.
What is the reason why asthenosphere is in semi-molten stage?
Sir, I can guess it might be the distance factor that has, or plus pressure factor that have led to this phenomena.
Then core should be also in molten stage, because the pressure and temperature.
So core is actually, we can say it is an exception somewhat, Although the inner core is solid in nature, but pressure and heat function in such a way that it is not being molted, but it still remain in its solid form.
Okay. Okay, I'm giving you a hypothetical situation you have to answer. Suppose you have been made Prime Minister of India.
Yes.
Which 2 steps would you like to take for Jammu and Kashmir?
So first of all, I will suggest that as soon as possible election must be conducted in Jammu and Kashmir, and for the farmer community, all possible steps that can be required should be taken. Like in a one policy, we can say the steps include formation of FPOs. Although we have policy, but more push should be given. A horticulture sector is actually very robust in our state. It should be given more. Given more credit so that farmers become more tech savvy and more. It should increase the production. And sir, in allied sector we have dairy farming in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the temperate area, that is Kashmir. We have huge potential of dairy farming, so it needs to be exploited. Jammu as a tourist destination should also be exploited in a proper way.
Okay, last question from my side. What are your weaknesses?
Sir, sometimes surfing too much on internet, so visiting my farmland when not even required. And sir, I feel that perfection is synonymous to God and only God is perfect. So I might have weaknesses, but I will try to improve those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Suchiter. I am very interested to know, have you ever failed at anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What have you failed at?
Ma'am, I have lost every debate competition I participated in.
Okay, and did you realize why did you fail there? Didn't you give your best? As I've seen, you are good in academics. Right now also you said, wherever you will be posted, you will give your best. So did you not give your best at debating?
Ma'am, I always try to give my best. But finally, I might not be that much strong than my opponents, or some other factors might have played that role. So, but I always tried to be best.
Okay, Suchiter, do you think debating is a futile exercise? It's wastage of time because people just argue and you don't get anything out of it.
Ma'am, debating leads to honest disagreement. It leads to mixture of views, and we can properly get where we lack, what are our strengths. So we can realize our strengths and weak point in debating. And it is, ma'am, I think it is better for democracy to have debates.
Okay. Suchitra, your hobby, in your hobbies you've written you like to watch web series.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, what is full form of OTT?
Over the top platforms.
What do you mean by that?
Ma'am, means it is just over the things that we are actually it is different from the mainstream media, and it is over the mainstream.
How is it over the mainstream?
Ma'am, we can access it through internet.
Are you saying you can exercise your choice in the kind of content you want to view?
Oh, yes, sir. We can exercise the choice.
Do you feel that OTT has democratized entertainment also?
Ma'am, we can say it has democratized.
Okay, which is your favorite web series?
Ma'am, recently I saw Family Man.
And you liked it?
Yes, ma'am, I liked it.
Do you think these web series have started to show a lot of violence, commoditization of women? What is your opinion on that?
Ma'am, you are right. They have actually shown such things, and it is required to be controlled. And for that, government has come up with the guidelines, OTT guidelines, and I think it has 5 categories like universal, 7+, 13+, 16+, and 18+. So I think it will help in first choosing the type which we want, and in addressing such issues, I think we need intervention. We need government intervention, and these OTT guidelines have government intervention. And I think that in few years, these things which are not good for our society may not be projected in these web series.
We have generally observed that J&K is not shown in correct light in such web series. Do you feel frustrated about it?
Ma'am, I think everything is shown in a better way that is happening, and it has reflected the reality of the state.
So you agree that it is real, whatever is shown is real?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, but I have not seen any web series. I might not have seen that web series in which J&K has been projected. In Family Man, so it has been projected. Yes, sorry ma'am for interruption. Yes, ma'am, I feel that whatever has been shown, it is shown right.
It is okay. Tell me, what is your opinion on effect on women in conflict zones? How conflict zones impact women differently than men?
Ma'am, as we know that our society is patriarchal, and women are the one who are the worst sufferers of these conflicts. Often we have seen that mostly women are also raped. They are not given their proper rights. society has made men such rough and tough, and they can adjust according to situation. Even the women are rough and tough, they can adjust, but society has not given them that chance which they wanted. But still the women have proved their best when they were required to prove. But still I feel that women are not treated in a better way in a conflict zone, and there is a proper attention that is required, so that they should be treated in a better way.
And what is reciting karaks? I am interested in knowing that.
Ma'am, reciting karaks, ma'am, it is a folk song and folk tale songs of the local deities.
Which language is it in?
Ma'am, it is in Dogri.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What do Dogri women generally wear? Is there any kind of dress code for men and
Ma'am,
women?
generally suits.
What is Suthan? Suthan is something that Dogri women wear, right?
Ma'am, I heard that, but I have never inquired from my mother.
Okay, so you don't know what it is. It is already all. That is it from my end. Thank you.
Okay, Suchitra.
Yes, ma'am.
Suchitra, you must be take close look on what is happening on the international arena and Indian foreign policy. If you look carefully at India's stand on Myanmar, the way India is now engaging with Taliban, despite having a declared policy of not to have any contact with terrorists. And also when we talk about, say, the Israel-Palestine issue, India is taking, to a large extent, is either mum or taking side with Israel. Do you believe that of late, India's policy, foreign policy, is less value-based? The values it has always cherished. Now we are compromising on those values, and in place of those, we are taking the short-term self-interest, giving priorities to short-term self-interest. Is it happening on India's foreign policy front?
Sir, I just want to quote that no one is permanent friend and no one is permanent enemy in international relation. Only interests are permanent. And whatever stand we have taken against Myanmar...
That comes later. First, you agree with the fact that we are leaving values, we are shunning value for short-term interests.
Sir, I think we are moving towards practical policy making. Our international policy has become more practical.
But there is a document called Indian Constitution which actually directs India to commit to certain values.
Yes, sir. But sir, the first priority of the Constitution is also to secure the Indian citizens. It's a responsibility that the prior and the core interest of the nation must be towards safeguarding the citizens of this country. And wherever the international relations are, we stand with the people of Myanmar, we stand with the people of Afghanistan. But for the security of our country, we have that policy, and whatever will be required, I think our government should do and is doing.
So you believe that foreign policy should not be value-based?
So values are part of policy making, but it should not compromise the national security, sovereignty of the country.
Okay. If we talk about this sovereignty issue, recently whatever happened in France on the Cairn issue, it appears that there is a decree against Indian assets, the sovereign assets of our country. Do you believe that it compromises our sovereignty? It actually puts India into real bad image worldwide, where the sovereign assets are being acquired, are being auctioned, are being taken away by a private company.
Sir, I think India has signed bilateral investment treaty and India has agreed to those conditions, and India has also agreed that whenever the dispute between the company and India will arise, the matter will be taken to the international arbitration councils. And I think that if that is not violating the sovereignty of India, and if India lost the issue with Cairn Energy, one must accept...
How do you define sovereign? Because what you just said is against the definition of sovereign. Well, how do we define sovereign?
So, our nation is not controlled by any other forces, and a nation policymaker will decide what is good for... so, our nation policymaker will decide...
Have you read sovereignty or
yes,
not?
Sir. So, we will...
Who defines sovereignty?
So, Constitution.
No, who exactly, in political science in general, what is the source of sovereignty?
So, the author.
Yeah, I mean the philosopher.
Sir, I don't know.
No. Okay, what is your understanding of sovereignty? That the policymakers will decide is the sovereignty?
So, India is not under any other country. India will establish its own relations. Whatever India want to do, India will do on its own, and it is not, no power is above India.
Okay, and if Indian assets, Indian embassies or Indian assets are taken away by somebody else without India actually countering it by force, Isn't that violation of sovereignty to some extent?
Sir, I think India has agreed to that in bilateral investment treaty. India has agreed to such provisions, and India has agreed that arbitration will be done in international forum, and we will accept that arbitration. And sir, I think if we are at fault, we must accept that it's our mistake. If retrospective taxation is not applicable to the Indian firms, it should not also be applicable to the foreign firms. And the thing we are doing with Cairn Energy is that retrospective taxation is being applied here. So that is why we are losing that. And in bilateral investment treaty, the thing is not mentioned.
Okay, last one from me, Suchitra. You are a very, very young candidate. Suppose you get through, you're into the academy where you're being trained by the state to become an administrator. There you're the youngest person. You're the youngest professional. So what is happening is that your colleagues, the other code probationers, they are being extra nice to you. They are kid gloving you. Are you getting the word kid? They're taking extra care of you. They're not being harsh to you. They're not being unpleasant. But they're and that is in fact creating inequality. You can understand. How will you handle a situation? They won't let you go to fetch water. They'll just get you chocolates. They're taking extra care.
Sir, I think when I will interact with such probationaries, they will realize that although
they'll realize that you're a young, chubby young man who should be taken care of.
Sir, I think when I will interact with them, then they will realize that although I look chubby, I look kid, but actually I am much mature of those who are of my age.
Will you do anything, or you let them do what they're doing?
No, sir, I will assert my rights. Whatever I want to
How
be
will
equal
you
with
assert
them.
that? For example, in the course of this interview, you kid gloved you many times, at least 3-4 occasions. I do remember. You never asserted.
Sir, sorry,
In the course of last 20 minutes, we kid gloved you at least on 3-4 occasions. You didn't assert.
Sir, I think it is going to benefit me, so why should I assert, sir? If it will be going negative for me, that I must have done something.
Okay, nice talking to you. Your interview is over. You can go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all of you.
Take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Suchitra. Right, Suchitra. Tell me, how was it? What are the areas you believe you did fine, and where you believe that you can probably improve a bit?
So I think in case of finances, sir, I think I need to improve in those areas, and also in case of zoology, I need to work hard.
Okay, there are areas where you need to revise. You still have some time, obviously.
So 1 month.
Around a month. So use that judiciously so that you're able to revise the things. You need to understand. See, it's an historical moment. You at such a young age, first attempt facing interview. It will not be same if you're appearing for the second time, third time next year. But you're getting up and getting that young in the service means that we are talking to somebody who can be cabinet secretary someday, right? Provided you realize the importance of this particular moment, right? So don't postpone it for next year or a year after. Do it this time, right? Most of the times you're doing things right. Coming to specific about the interview, your personality is good. Though I'm not happy with your tie, obviously. I'm sure you'll not be wearing this. If you have any other option, please consider that.
Right? I'll change whole of my dress.
Then it's even better, right? Right now, see, you need to understand, you are what, 21, 22 years old, 22, right? Right now, you're looking around 24, right? Not bad strategy to adopt, but I'll still expect you to look 21. That will be good. Why? Because as you said, it is going in your favor. So why change it, right? So look young. Don't unnecessarily wear a attire that adds anything to your age. Getting my point?
Yes.
This is one suggestion. Entry is good. Sitting posture by and large is good. Voice level is good. Eye contact is good. Flow is not bad. So you are doing communication wise, both verbal and non-verbal. You're doing things right. Except in the verbal communication, you have this tendency sometimes to give lofty formulas. You mentioned more than once. There were at least 2-3 occasions where it appears that the board members, they're mature people. They are people in 60s sometime, maybe late 50s, 60s. They have come through thick and thin of the life. they don't really prefer formulas, right? So my advice will be that keep it to the ground. Keep it to the ground. You cannot say above everything kind of phrases. Avoid them, right? Though they'll let it go, considering that you're too young for that. But then that's not your point. You're not proving that you're too young. You want to say that you're mature enough. So while you're using these phrases, keep them rooted to ground. That will be better. You're getting where I'm talking about, right? It happened at least on 2-3 occasions. So that is one area you can work on. Otherwise, as you said, there are 2-3 areas where you need to revise on the content front. One is obviously your background subjects and your optional. Other is your state. So revise them a little so that you are more confident while delivering this. Your confidence was not sustained all through the interview. It was good in the beginning. It fell a bit midway. Then you got it again. Not a bad graph as such, but if you can sustain it for a longer period and then let it go up, it will be even better. So, but then it's not always in your hand. It depends on the patch of the interview. That's how it is going. But by and large, good part was that you were able to pick it up late in the later part, because the evaluation takes place just after that.
Yes, sir.
So that way it was good. But see if you can sustain a high level of confidence all through your interview, it will be even good. Other things, I'm really happy. I still believe that you are one of the most promising candidates and you are doing exceedingly well. So I'm sure you'll be doing very, very well there as well, right? All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Right, you can go now.